Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Today I'm in Tokyo and I'm traveling, so I wanted to talk about apps. So on today's episode, I'm traveling and I wanted to talk about travel apps. Before I go on a trip, I usually load up my iPhone and my iPad with all sorts of different apps. For instance, the first thing I do is make sure I have all the apps for the different airlines I'm flying. Sometimes you can even get a boarding pass on your iPhone, but even when you can't, usually there are things like notifications where you can get notified of gate changes, and it's definitely worth having all of the apps for all of those airlines. When I think about travel, I also think about local travel, so I make sure I have travel apps for things like, say, the local subway system. I look for the official app. There are usually a ton of different free apps in the store, so I try to find the official one. The official ones are really good, like the one here for Tokyo or the one, say, for Paris. They'll give you ways to get from point A to point B and tell you exactly how much the fare is. I also think about other apps like for taxis. Sometimes you can get apps that will hail a taxi for you, or at least tell you where it's more likely to get one. I also look for apps for other forms of transportation, like sometimes cities have public bicycle systems, and you can get an app that'll show you where to get one, and you can even pay through the app. I think about maps too. Now, your iPhone and iPad come with the Apple Maps app, and it's pretty good, except that I usually also like to have the Google Maps app too. Between the two of them, you can usually find things a lot easier. Sometimes something's on one map isn't on the other. I also look for other local maps. Sometimes there's some free apps, sometimes from the city itself, that'll give you some good information. And then there's some general tourist apps that you can usually get. Sometimes these aren't very good. A lot of times they're free and just have public domain information. But more information is always better. And these apps don't take up much space, so I usually load a whole bunch of them and put them into an app folder on my iPhone. Another thing I do is I use iBooks and the Kindle app to load up a few travel books for the area I'm going to. Having travel books on your electronic devices means that you don't have to carry around a heavy book with you, and you can have them, say, on your iPad and also on your iPhone. So you can read them on your iPad, and then when you're out and about and you want to remember something, you can go and look at it on your iPhone as well. I also look at dedicated travel apps like, say, the TripAdvisor app or Yelp. These will help you find good restaurants and tourist attractions and museums, all sorts of things, and they're filled with reviews that give you lots of useful tips. Oh, and then of course, if the country you're traveling to doesn't use the same language that you do, it's also useful to download a few language apps. There are some free ones out there for just about every area that give you some useful sayings, and the great thing about an app over, say, looking at a book is the fact that you can have pronunciations. Usually there are spoken pronunciations, and you can simply learn how to say things like thank you and please and yes and no and things like that. So that's what I do to load up my iPhone and iPad with different apps. Hope you found this useful. Till next time, this is Gary with MacMost.com.